Hey, stuffers. Ever had a conversation with someone and thought, are they even human? Well, get ready because today we're exploring that question with a decidedly scaly twist. Alex here, and welcome back to Stuff with Alex. All right, folks, picture this. You're watching the news, seeing another world leader make another baffling decision, another celebrity acting, well, weird. And deep down, a tiny, lizard-brained voice in your head, ironically, whispers, "What if? What if they're not just having a bad day? What if they're not just a little odd? What if? Just what if? Underneath that perfectly tailored suit or that shimmering red carpet gown, there's something else. Something cold-blooded, ancient, and very much in control. I'm talking about creatures straight out of a B-movie, pulling the strings of global power from their clandestine subterranean lairs, ready to shed their human skin at a moment's notice. Forget your garden variety conspiracies. Today we're talking about the big one, the granddaddy of all deep dives, the theory that makes everything else look like a picnic in the park. Reptilian Shape-Shifters are running the show. And before you scoff, before you roll your eyes so hard you see your own brain, let me tell you, the rabbit hole here goes deeper than you can possibly imagine. Are you ready to see the world through a new, perhaps slightly scaly lens? Good. Because once you see it, you can't unsee it. Or can you? Let's find out. Okay, stuffers, take a deep breath. We're about to embark on a journey that will either solidify your belief in the truly bizarre or convince you that some people have way too much time on their hands. Either way, it's going to be a wild ride. The idea of reptilian beings influencing human affairs isn't exactly new. I mean, think about it. Ancient myths from cultures all over the globe feature serpent gods, dragon deities, and wise, often cunning, reptilian entities. We're talking about stories from Sumeria, ancient China, India, Mesoamerica, even some indigenous North American legends. The feathered serpent god Quetzalcoatl, that dude was basically a VIP in Aztec and Mayan cultures. Dragons in Asian folklore, often revered, sometimes feared, always powerful and intelligent. Eve and the serpent, in that famous garden story, not exactly a glowing endorsement of snakes, but definitely a portrayal of a persuasive, non-human entity influencing humanity. But here's the kicker. For centuries, these were largely disparate myths, separate cultural narratives. Nobody was really connecting the dots to say, hey, maybe Quetzalcoatl is running the city council. No, that came later, much later. The modern interpretation of the reptilian shapeshifter conspiracy, the one where they're actively walking among us, wearing what I assume are extremely uncomfortable human suits, truly burst onto the scene with a force that made the internet collectively clutch its pearls. And for that, we largely have one very passionate, very outspoken individual to thank, or blame, depending on your perspective. So before we get to the main event, let's just appreciate the sheer scope of human imagination, shall we? From cave paintings to parliamentary debates, the serpent has always been there, lurking in the shadows of our collective consciousness. But how did we go from mythological serpent to presidential serpent? That's the real magic trick, folks. And it all begins with a revelation that, let's just say, changed one man's life and consequently, a lot of other people's perceptions of reality. All right, buckle up, buttercups, because if you've ever heard of reptilian shapeshifters in the modern context, chances are you've heard the name David Icke. This gentleman, a former professional footballer, then a BBC sports commentator, had what he describes as a profound spiritual experience in the early 1990s. And let me tell you, it wasn't just finding his car keys after a big night out. He claims he received messages from a higher intelligence, leading him to believe that the world is controlled by a secret race of reptilian humanoids. Yes, you heard that right. Former sports commentator, now unmasking interdimensional lizards. It's quite the career pivot. According to Icke, these entities, which he often refers to as the Anunnaki, borrowing from ancient Sumerian texts, originated from the Draco constellation. They apparently interbred with humans in ancient Mesopotamia, creating a hybrid bloodline. And that bloodline, my friends, is allegedly still in power today. Think about it. Royal families, presidents, prime ministers, top bankers, media moguls. Icke posits that many of the individuals at the pinnacles of global power are actually these reptilian humanoids. They can shapeshift, you see, appearing human to the unsuspecting public, but occasionally their true form flickers or is revealed under specific energetic conditions. Now, before you dial the nearest mental health hotline, it's important to understand the scope of Icke's claims. He's not just talking about a few sneaky lizards. He's talking about a global, multi-generational conspiracy that has allegedly manipulated human history for millennia, orchestrating wars, economic collapses, and political agendas, all to keep humanity enslaved and controlled. Their ultimate goal? To establish a totalitarian world government. Sounds like a fun bunch, right? He's basically saying the Illuminati are just the junior varsity squad for the reptilians, and he's been shouting this from the rooftops, or, selling out arenas for his lectures, for decades. It's a theory so comprehensive, so far-reaching, that it practically redefines what we think of as conspiracy. And it begs the question, how could such an outlandish idea gain such a massive following? What is it about this narrative that resonates with so many people, inspiring millions to genuinely wonder if their local politician occasionally snacks on live mice? All right, stuffers, this is where things get really spicy. If you're going to claim that the world's most powerful people are secretly cold-blooded overlords, you better have some serious receipts, right? Well, serious is a relative term in the world of shapeshifter hunting. The evidence for reptilian shapeshifters generally falls into a few fascinating categories, each more interpretive than the last. First up, we have the eyewitness accounts. These are usually people claiming to have seen a prominent figure's eyes temporarily morph into reptilian slits, or their skin briefly take on a scaly texture, or perhaps even a full-on transformation, usually in private, of course. These flickers, as Icke calls them, are often reported during moments of high emotion or stress for the alleged shapeshifter, or when observed by someone with a heightened spiritual awareness. Think about it. If someone's giving a really intense speech and their eyes suddenly seem to shift, are they possessed by an ancient alien or just having a really dramatic moment? The jury apparently is out and taking a very long lunch break. Then there's the anecdotal evidence from ancient texts and artifacts. Proponents point to carvings of beings with reptilian features from Sumerian and Egyptian civilizations, or the Anunnaki references, suggesting our ancestors weren't just imaginative artists, but actually documenting encounters with these beings. They'll also point to symbols like dragons and serpents in royal crests and secret society iconography, claiming these are subtle nods to the true powers that be. See,
they exclaim, "They're hiding in plain sight," which admittedly would be a pretty bold move, like wearing a "I'm a secret alien" t-shirt to the White House Correspondents' Dinner. And finally, we have the behavioral evidence. This is where it gets truly subjective. Proponents argue that the cold, calculating, seemingly empathy-free decisions made by certain world leaders, the ones that lead to conflict or economic hardship for the masses, are not just political maneuvering, but rather manifestations of their reptilian, non-human nature. Only a creature without a soul could do that, they might cry, which, is a thought many of us have had about various bosses or ex-partners, regardless of their alleged species. But here, it's proof positive of scales, not just suits. It's a fascinating leap of logic, transforming the critique of human behavior into a species identification. But hey, when you're dealing with global conspiracies, sometimes you gotta connect the dots with a very long, very stretchy piece of string. Drop your wildest theory in the comments. What's the most bizarre proof you've ever heard for anything?
Now, no good conspiracy theory is complete without a cast of characters, and the Reptilian Shapeshifter narrative has its own VIP guest list. According to proponents like Icke, these aren't just random folks, we're talking about the creme de la creme of global influence. We're talking about names that regularly grace the headlines, from the highest echelons of government to the most glittering stages of Hollywood. The British royal family, for instance, frequently finds itself at the top of the alleged reptilian roster. The argument often stems from their ancient lineage, tracing back through European royalty, which Icke and others claim is the very bloodline established by the Anunnaki hybrids. So when you see a royal wave, are they simply being polite, or are they subtly asserting their ancient scaly dominion? It certainly adds a new layer to those fancy hats, doesn't it? But it doesn't stop there. Oh no, the theory casts a wide net encompassing prominent political figures from around the world. We're talking about a veritable who's who of presidents, prime ministers, and influential world leaders, both past and present. The idea is that these individuals ascend to power not through democratic processes alone, but through their inherent reptilian lineage and their allegiance to the shadowy global network. They're not just winning elections, they're fulfilling an ancient, cold-blooded prophecy. And for good measure, the theory sometimes extends into the world of entertainment and finance. Certain famous musicians, actors, and incredibly wealthy industrialists have also been whispered about. Their alleged shape-shifting abilities sometimes attributed to their unusual success, their cold demeanor, or even just a particularly intense stare in an interview. It's almost like if you're powerful or famous, you're automatically on the watch list for potential scaly shenanigans, which, let's be honest, would make award shows a lot more interesting. Imagine the acceptance speeches. Stuffers, what celebrity do you think is secretly a lizard? Just kidding. Mostly. Drop your thoughts respectfully in the comments.
So, if these reptilian overlords exist, and they've been around for millennia, how exactly do they maintain this staggering level of control? This isn't just a local parish council meeting, folks. We're talking about a global operation that spans continents and centuries. The theory suggests a highly intricate and interconnected web of control, far more sophisticated than any human-made espionage network. It allegedly begins with secret societies. Think the Freemasons, the Illuminati, the Bilderberg Group. All of these, according to the theory, are not the actual top dogs, but rather various layers of an organizational chart, with the reptilians at the very, very top. These human-fronted organizations act as conduits, carrying out the will of their scaly masters, setting agendas and manipulating events from behind the scenes. They're basically the middle management for the lizard people. The historical narrative, as painted by Icke and others, posits that these entities have been manipulating human evolution, seeding ancient civilizations with advanced knowledge, and subtly guiding humanity's development down a path that serves their own interests. They orchestrated the rise and fall of empires, ignited conflicts, and even influenced major religious texts, all to keep humans in a state of controlled consciousness, preventing us from realizing our true potential, or, heaven forbid, developing a way to spot a lizard person in a crowd. And in the modern era, their influence supposedly extends to every pillar of society. The media, for example, is seen as a crucial tool for mind control, disseminating narratives that distract, divide, and keep the public in the dark. The financial system? Rigged to create debt and dependency, keeping us too busy worrying about rent to question our leaders' lack of visible pores. Education? Designed to stifle critical thinking. It's a truly bleak picture where virtually every institution you can name is just another tentacle of the reptilian beast, subtly ensuring humanity remains a complacent, easily managed population. Makes you think twice about that next news report, doesn't it? Or at least makes you wonder if the anchor has unusually prominent neck wrinkles. But if they're that powerful, that pervasive, how on earth could anyone possibly see through their elaborate disguise? Are there any tells? Any subtle signs we should be looking for?
All right, stuffers, if you're starting to get paranoid about your neighbor's suspiciously smooth skin or your boss's surprisingly cold handshake, this chapter is for you. How exactly do these alleged reptilian shapeshifters manage to blend in so seamlessly among us? I mean, it's not like they're walking around with tails wagging and forked tongues flapping, right? Unless they are, in which case I might need to rethink my entire life. The common explanation is that they use advanced technology, or, more mystically, energetic manipulation to project a human appearance. Think of it like a very sophisticated full-body hologram. However, as we touched on earlier, this disguise isn't always perfect. The flicker effect is often cited, where for a fleeting moment, perhaps due to stress, a specific energy frequency, or a momentary lapse in concentration, their true reptilian form is glimpsed. This might manifest as eyes briefly changing from round pupils to vertical slits, or skin momentarily appearing scaly or even iridescent, like a lizard's. Some even describe seeing a sort of aura that is distinctly non-human. Beyond the physical flicker, some proponents also look for behavioral cues. Alleged reptilian traits often include a lack of empathy, a cold or calculating demeanor, an obsession with rituals or symbols, and a particular taste for certain kinds of energy, sometimes described as negative or fear-based energy, which they supposedly feed on. Think of those politicians who seem to thrive on division, or those leaders who just seem too calm in the face of absolute chaos. Could it be a sign of a steady reptilian pulse, or just a seasoned politician? It's all about interpretation, my friends. And then there's the more esoteric aspect. The idea that these beings communicate and operate on a different frequency or dimension, that our human perceptions are limited and only those with certain spiritual gifts or awakened consciousness can truly perceive their reality. It's like trying to tune into an alien radio station with a broken antenna. Most of us just get static, but a few can pick up the clear signal. So if you've ever felt like someone was just off in a way you couldn't quite articulate, congratulations. You might just have a finely tuned reptilian radar. Or maybe they just had bad coffee that morning. Who's to say, really?
Okay, let's play devil's advocate for a second. Or perhaps dragon's advocate. What if, just what if, this entire elaborate mind-bending theory is actually true? What would that mean for us, the seemingly oblivious human inhabitants of planet Earth? If reptilian shapeshifters are indeed pulling the strings, what's their ultimate goal? According to the most popular narratives, their end game is a complete and total domination of humanity, establishing a totalitarian global government often referred to as the New World Order. This isn't just about economic control or political power, it's about spiritual and energetic subjugation. They allegedly thrive on fear, division, and negative energy, which they harvest from humanity. So all the chaos, the conflicts, the general sense of unease in the world, that's not just a byproduct. It's the main course for these interdimensional overlords. Their goal is to prevent humanity from reaching its full spiritual potential, to keep us distracted, consumed by petty squabbles, and utterly unaware of our true power as creators and conscious beings. They want us dumbed down, divided, and dependent, essentially treating Earth as a kind of intergalactic farm where they cultivate human energy, which, to be fair, is a pretty dramatic farm-to-table concept. The implications are staggering. It would mean our entire history, our political systems, our social structures, even our scientific understanding have been meticulously crafted and controlled for millennia by a non-human intelligence. Every major event, every crisis, every global leader, all part of a grand, scaly chess game. It would challenge everything we thought we knew about ourselves and our place in the universe. And honestly, it would make those awkward family dinners seem positively delightful by comparison, because at least Uncle Barry just talks about his golf swing, not about how he's secretly plotting to drain your life force, probably.
So stuffers, here we are at the end of our incredibly deep, incredibly wild dive into the world of reptilian shapeshifters. It's a theory that's captivating, frightening, and for many utterly compelling. Now, am I saying that your favorite celebrity is actually a giant lizard in disguise? Probably not. What I am saying is that this theory, outlandish as it might seem, serves a fascinating purpose in our collective consciousness. It speaks to a fundamental human desire to understand who truly holds power, to make sense of the chaos. Because whether it's literal scales or metaphorical ones, the pursuit of truth, the unmasking of hidden agendas, and the yearning for wisdom about how our world truly works, these are ancient, powerful desires. And sometimes, a wild story about shape-shifting overlords is just the catalyst we need to ask bigger questions. Okay, thanks for watching. Peace out. Goodbye, guys.